Hey folks, everything new under the sun. This is War News 247 .gr, the Greek website, and translated to English, of course. And this is the real concern that has been kind of portrayed in this article. Nothing will be left in Western stockpiles. U.S. sends RIM-7 Sea Sparrow anti-aircraft missiles to Ukraine for first time. What the Western powers are doing is they've burned through all their kind of old, outdated equipment and weapons, and they've started going through, moving into kind of the more technological things. Same with Russia, where what did Russia send into Ukraine at the beginning? Well, all the Cold War tanks and trucks and weaponry. On one hand, to see if that's all they needed to, win the war. But on the other hand, to kind of use up the old equipment before they start using some of the more advanced equipment. And of course, on both sides, they're going to start with their least advanced things first to see what the opponent puts up against it, how he deals with it. And they're all watching, Russia and the West, U.S. The militaries are watching each side to see how they deal with the various pieces of armament, military technology, etc., to see if they have answers for it. And they're both sides are calculating each and every day what happens as they burn through kind of the old equipment. Russia, there was a news article the other day that they're in a full war mode in terms of creating ammunition. They've got their war manufacturing facilities up and running, and they're creating ammunition as fast as they can. They're in war mode, just like in World War II, where you'd have these factories that were switched from manufacturing cars to manufacturing tanks, and factories all over, textile factories, converted into manufacturing ammunition or whatever else the military industrial complex needs for the war. And that's what they've done in the U.S. and in Russia. I suggest the U.S. and West and Europe and the Western countries will start doing that as well. But they're running out of all their weapons. The U.S. has sent a lot of HIMARS over there, which are being destroyed by the Russians. They're now sending air defense, the little rockets that took out the tanks and such. They're using up their stockpile of that, and that's well known. And so Russia knowingly is working through all their munitions and their old hardware and moving to new hardware, better technology, right up to the hypersonic missiles. And they have their factories going. But the U.S. Hasn't, of course, declared war. The West hasn't declared war. So there isn't a lot going on in terms of manufacturing, not a push. I've never seen any articles related to that. And this is the fear that Russia is ramped up in creating ammunition, creating new weaponry, while the West is just happy to use up what it has and hasn't really went into war mode. And this will leave a situation where the West has used up all its munitions, and then it will have to quickly ramp up production of new weapons, which they're doing. The military and industrial complex is making millions upon millions and billions of dollars with this war. They love it. There's a lot of money to be made. Go check out any war company, any munitions company, any weapons company on the stock market, and you'll see that their stocks are high because there's a lot of money to be made when there's war, because they're burning through old stock, old piles of equipment, and there is new money from the government to create new stuff. The U.S. will send Sea Sparrow anti-aircraft missiles to Ukraine for the first time as part of new military aid. They're talking about sending tanks over there as well. Germany is sending anti-aircraft systems over to Ukraine as well. And this is really a depleting of all stocks of military equipment in the West. Yet the West hasn't started in any significant way to create new weaponry, while Russia is going full bore at that already with converted factories, creating ammunition as fast as they can because they know what's coming. It says, in terms of the package that the White House is going to sent to Ukraine. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said January 4th that the U.S. is preparing a new $3.8 billion military package for Ukraine. It will include 50 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, additional HIMARS, multiple launch missile systems, and other weapons. So, again, the West is not creating its stockpile of weapons. They're not replacing it certainly as fast as Russia. I'm sure they're replacing it, but does the public know about that? Have you heard that on your mainstream media, that factories are being converted or that factories are going full tilt to create ammunition for this new war? No, because there is no war, according to the West. It's simply a conflict between Ukraine and Russia, but Russia knows what's happening, and they're being open about it. This is a big deal as we head into the four horsemen of the apocalypse, a 7-year period spoken of as the tribulation and the great tribulation in Revelation chapter 6. The four horsemen specifically spoken of there. And we know there's a famine coming. And one of the things with the fertilizers that aren't coming from Russia, and the pandemic, which caused a slowdown in agricultural production, and the weather, and countries like the northern European countries that are stopping farmers from being farmers anymore because of climate change and all that. What does it mean? Well, it means there's a lot less food to go around. But not only are there a lot less farmers and folks growing food, companies are actually shutting down, not because of lack of base ingredients, flours, sugars, whatever it may be, but because of the cost of energy. So not only will there not be enough food, but the companies that are making the food are shutting down because it could just cost too much to keep going. So this is a French food company shuts down 80% of production as soaring energy costs make factories uneconomical. They simply can't raise the price of food fast enough, and they feel that consumers are not going to accept a price increase. And so they're shutting down the factory, or at least a large portion of it, because energy costs in Europe are skyrocketing. And with all this, trade cap that Europe wants to put on Russia for its oil, Russia retaliated back and said, well, we just won't ship oil to you at all if you're going to put a cap on it. And you're going to pay us what we want, and if you don't, you're not going to get it. And so a slap in the face, an egg on the face of Europe for trying to implement any sort of price cap there. It's incredible. So this is an interesting story, and this was from December 2nd, actually. I believe it was. It says Sunday, January 1st, actually, Yahoo, but Israeli missile strike puts Damascus airport out of service. So it says Israeli military fired missiles toward the international airport of Syria's capital early Monday. Why is that? Well, there's an Iranian proxy and Iranian military equipment being flown into or near Damascus airport, and that's why Israel keeps striking around there, because they have runways and such where Iran is ferrying in, whatever it may be, munitions and personnel and such to support the proxy war with with Israel. And so Israel has always been striking in and around Damascus. And we know that in Ezekiel 38 and 39, there's a destruction of Damascus. And there's a hook in the jaw as well on countries from the north, and many would say Russia, which pulls them down and brings them to war with Israel. And this is one of those things, and Russia kind of controls Syria right now. They've got their air defense systems there, although they're allowing Israel to kind of do what they need against Iran in Syria generally. But there will come a point where they say, no more, and there will be this idea of the hook in the jaw that will draw Russia into the battle against Israel. And one of the things that was spoken of lately was that Russia did not want Israel to get involved in Ukraine, supplying it with weapons or otherwise. And if they did, that could very well be a hook in the jaw to Russia to bring them to battle against Israel, if Israel was to support Ukraine. And Israel has generally tried to keep quiet related to that, but certainly Russia doesn't want Israeli air defense systems in Ukraine. U.S. is sending its air defense systems there for sure. It is effectively World War III that we're in. It just doesn't look like wars we know from the past, and even most of us alive today have never known a war. So normalcy bias dictates that most people don't think there will ever be a war, and they think everything will go on as normal, that the situation will be resolved. There's going to be a few Europeans die, but of course no one in the Western world, in North America, cares. Of course, right? Obviously I'm saying that. Sarcastically. We care about them, but most people are living fat, dumb, and happy, and they couldn't care less about the world events. They just want their iPhones, their video games, and their hockey games, whatever it may be, their football, and the normalcy bias is kicking in, where they just don't care about world events at this point. They're almost trying to make up for lost time during the pandemic, and they don't have time for another war. They want the world to get back to normal the way it was, and it's not going to go back to normal. And the folks who said that during the pandemic were absolutely right. This is a new normal of world upheaval and Bible prophecy occurring before our eyes. So apparently this shut down the Damascus airport, and this is one of those things that could really trigger Russia to come when Syria finally says, you know what, Russia, please come and help us with this, and even Iran. If they're shutting down the international airport, then that's going to be a red line probably for the world to condemn Israel further, and maybe to bring them to action against Israel. Now, one thing I did post on the community page was a prophetic update by Steve Hadley. This is his January 1st, 2023 update. And indeed, he is talking about Ezekiel 38 and 39, destruction of Damascus. So a very, very interesting sermon and study into Ezekiel 38 and 39. And he also speaks of the Antichrist that will come and bring world peace. But he's not going to bring world peace before the world wants peace. And the world has to get into a situation where we're at almost in World War III, if not in World War III, and we're desperate and we're hungry, and stuff is hitting the fan all over the place, and there's anarchy and chaos. It's not going to be before that point that an Antichrist figure is able to come in and get us all to vote for him. No, he's going to wait until the world situation is the worst possible, and it's at that point he will come and declare that he can bring world peace and feed and fix the famine and fix the economic system, which would be totally broken at that point in time. We're going to have to be pretty desperate. Everybody's going to have to be pretty desperate to vote for this guy, and that's the only time when he can come to power, when people are that desperate that they will vote for him. So things are going to get very, very bad, folks, before they get better. This is not going to be easy these last days. The Antichrist is not going to come right now when North America pretty much doesn't care about what's happening in the world, because North America wouldn't vote for him as a world leader. So again, he'll come at a time when everybody is absolutely desperate for a savior, but they won't turn to Jesus Christ. They will turn to this world leader who says, I can bring peace to the Middle East, I can fix the economy, etc. So anyways, I did put the link in the community page. Definitely check out Steve Hadley's 2023 update. I won't shy away from forwarding you to other folks who have good information. Another one is Canadian Prepper. On YouTube, he has some fantastical headlines and shock and awe sorts of thumbnails. But he does provide good news that I haven't really seen anybody else putting out, and interesting analysis of where the situation is going. And he has, over the last month or two, he has proven to have some good predictions about what kind of the next thing is as he looks at the news. So another one to check out. You need to be following a lot of sources, a lot of different sources, a lot of different opinions, and because the truth is always somewhere in the middle of all that. So with that, folks, thanks for watching. Check out Steve Hadley at harvestreno.org, harvest, harvestreno.org, and check out, click on the messages. Can you see that? Yeah, the messages tab there, and you'll see all his latest messages, and you'll see the prophetic update 2023, and click on the little TV icon, and you'll be able to watch it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.